Hello to all of our studio, cycle, and yoga master trainers. The purpose of this video that you're watching right now is to prepare you to get ready to do test outs. So for those of you that are interested in being a test out assessor or facilitator, here are your next steps. We're going to go through this PowerPoint. I'll give you a few instructions on what's coming up next. And then at the very end, even though I'm not live and you can't raise your hand and ask a question, we'll post a thread up in the Yammer group. So write down any question that comes to mind so that it's fresh on your mind, and afterwards pop over onto the Yammer group and write those questions in so we can answer them for you. Without further ado, here we go. Just to review our global vision and objectives. We want to create best-in-class group fitness, cycle, and yoga and endurance performers by delivering centralized, efficient, and attainable education and certifications that support the development of world-class performers and our programming. So we want to be the premier employer by providing the best place to work and to thrive. Create a hybrid group fitness, cycle, and yoga certification that supports making lifetime large group training the market leader. And finally, certification, training, education, and development that will attract and retain best-in-class performers. So keeping that on the forefront of your mind, let's look at our next opportunity to help you grow and start paving the way for other instructors coming after you. So looking at our onboarding timeline, we are currently right in the middle of week number 2. Now, I understand it's the middle of the week. We said we were going to start on January 15th. We've had a few bumps in the road, and here's the truth of the matter. Because of the holidays, there's not a lot of test outs going on right now for you to go and observe. However, we've collected as many as possible, and so we're going to extend that out just a little bit more. Okay, we understand it's going to take a little bit longer to jump into a test out so you can observe them and then take part in those next steps. But that's currently where we are. So let's go in and start looking at observations. How are we going to get to see how a test out goes down and where they're done? Okay. If you have not done so already, oh my gosh, please keep that information to yourself. But if you haven't done so already, one of the prerequisites was to go online to lynda.com and to view this training module on how to give effective feedback. So everything that you're actually going to be graded upon when you do a test out comes straight from that video. So if you saw it and it was maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I would encourage you start to look back over that as you're preparing to come in for your observation test outs and to also co-facilitate a test out. Great information that's going to help you already start to gather your thoughts, to place those words down and deliver effective messages that can be heard and tips that can be utilized. Okay, so if you haven't done so already, make sure that you jump onto that and then fill out the SurveyMonkey link that's on the Yammer group as well. All right, so now let's look at how to fill out a rubric. A grading rubric is very much like a checklist. So when you're looking at a performer who's doing a very, very short test out, we've decided it's 5 main boxes that you're observing. First, you're going to be looking at their cueing. And this can come from timely cues. Maybe it's with the music, maybe it's not supposed to be. But apart from that, are they cueing objectives and compulsory elements, such as speaking to heart rate, setting expectations, what does it feel like in the body, providing more than just the movements. So you'll be able to see that bucket and then pick a score. We also look at transitions. How smooth did they move from segment to segment? Your movements, were the movements authentic? Were they strong for the format? Were they credible? And then also, did they speak to the movements? Were they able to cue them in the right way? And did they even use the right movements that match the identity of the format that you are facilitating? We look at the connection. How are they able to speak to the bodies? Are they connected with the music in front of them? And really getting in touch with the members that they're going to be right in front of and present with. And then the final box that we have found is the performance. And we define that by looking back at the blueprint that was originally created for your format and matching the performer to the style of the performer that we're looking for when it comes to a strike class, when it comes to AMP, or even our surrender series. Just making sure that the performer doing the test out not only understands what that performer ideally should be like, but they are able to embody it, or that it comes naturally across. Okay, so those are the 5 buckets that you're kind of looking at. And so here's what we've got going on, guys. All of your rubrics, they are individual, they are specific for the formats that you're observing. So make sure that you have downloaded the correct rubric for the session that you're coming into. Now, let's say some of you out there are wanting to be facilitators or test out facilitators for Edge and for Warrior Sculpt and for TCX. Here's the thing. We want to see you do test outs for all of those formats and be able to deliver the feedback. So not only will you just be doing one, if you are interested in being available to take on multiple formats, we will want you to jump into all those formats and work with the master trainer mentors who are currently serving those test outs. So that may mean that you're downloading 1 or maybe even 5 rubrics, okay? But those are found on the master trainer group on Yammer. Log in, and then up in the files section is where you will find each of those documents. When you come to the test out to observe or to co-facilitate, already have the rubric ready for you. If you're a pen and paper sort of person and then you're going to type it up later on, all right. But have something that you can type on and make notes right into your rubric so it's timely and it's right there in front of your face. In fact, little pro tip, be aware of what's already on it. Get yourself familiar with the different elements and what exactly you're looking for and you're hoping is going to be presented from the performer that's coming to you. Next, we want to choose the appropriate score. So these rankings are from a series of 1 being novice and beginner, up to 4 being proficient, like they got it down. When you decide what that score is going to be, over in the comments section, make sure that you write down specifically what they missed and why that score was chosen so they can work at getting better on it, and it is very specific information. Next up, guys, by the end of the test out, you're going to tally up all those points, the 4s and the 3s hopefully, but sometimes there's some 2s and some 1s that come into play, and give it a final score. Now, in order to pass a test out, these guys are going to need to get more than 18 points. Generally speaking, that means that they need to get primarily the greens, which are the 4s and proficient, and a few of the 3s in the accomplished section. Okay, so 18 is the magic number to pass and move forward and begin teaching. So now let's start to look a little bit deeper into how do I decide what's the difference between a 1 and a 2? What's the difference between a 3 and a 4? So I want you to wrap your mind for a moment around a question of draw a dog. Okay, so let's just say that that's the task at hand and you tell all the performers out there, draw a dog. Chances are you're going to get a very vast turn in of different styles, different abilities, maybe different interpretations of what a dog drawing should look like. So let's kind of wrap our mind around that and start to break down what all of these numbers really mean when you're trying to decipher them and give a score to them. Okay, so let's say, what is a 1? A ranking score of 1 we have called the novice or the beginner. Okay, you may be looking at this picture right now when you said draw a dog, and you're thinking, what is that? In fact, Alex, at the age of 5, had to write out up top what it was, so probably people stopped asking him, what is this? But our ideal here is that the brand, it's unrecognizable at this point, or the elements really just aren't there, and you have that what the moment when you're looking at it, okay? All required elements are not present. Maybe they're not even considered. They're just trying to get through the presentation without stumbling on their face sometimes. The cues may be very rough. The entire journey or presentation may be very hard to follow if you were to close your eyes and be with them. And at this point, the individual that's getting a score of 1 doesn't quite possess the experience in order to lead this class. Okay, so that's a 1. The next one, draw a dog. You would give it a 2 if you were looking and you're like, yep, that's the outline of a dog. That is a recognizable shell. But man, there is a lot of stuff missing that we could start filling in the space with. So in this section, guys, it's very basic. The cues were provided, but it's missing a lot of substance. Again, a lot of opportunity to build it and add detail. So that would be your score of a 2. Next, we're looking at the score of a 3. We would call this an accomplished score. This is a good score. A 3 is very solid because you can look at this picture and say, hey, that is a dog. You got the eyes down, a nose, which is essential for them to breathe, right? You even put a little bit of detail, a little bit of sketching into their coat and their tail, all right? So now you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, I can see that. The branded essential elements, they're present. Their delivery of the content was smooth, no falling on the face. Okay? Extra substance and coaching of the components were added to it. But you know what? Even though this is a solid product and it feels like our brand, sure, there's going to be opportunity to add some more, okay? And we know that with time and experience of them putting their hands into the format, they're going to gain that experience. They're going to gain more connection with the format, how to bring it to life. For now, this is totally acceptable in its current state, right? So 3s are good, and we want instructors to know that. Finally, guys, we're taking that very same picture. They look almost identical, except now this one has a little bit more to it. The ranking score of 4 is, boom, proficient. It's the brand. You look at this and you're like, that is a dog. In fact, you added some more detail to it, some more color around it. Their delivery, when they come to this, is smooth and natural. Almost feels like they're relaxed and they really come alive in this element, in this space. They were able to demonstrate all compulsory elements that are required for this format. They even provided a little extra detail, and you could tell that it was creating an experience where the other scores were not able to before. Okay, so as you're looking at this picture of the dog, the coloring is there now. Even the background was given a shade to it with some ombre in there. And guess what? They even added an extra little bone down at the bottom. Just an extra little touch to it. Now, guys, this score of a 4 is fantastic, and it's definitely going to get them the check mark for it, okay? But what you may not be aware of is that even though we score on a scale of 1 to 4 when it comes to test outs, there's another ranking that could possibly arrive and you may witness in the test out, and that is the ranking score of artistry. Now, when you look at this picture of a dog, wow, all the fine little hairs on their coat have been given detail to. The shading of it, it's beautiful. It's something amazing to look at, especially when you compare it to the other pictures of the dogs. So this is actually mastery of the brand. They could be maybe a presenter or a mentor level performer for us that we can send other instructors to go and learn from and to see that example. They provide finer details. The elements are not just delivered smooth and naturally, but in an authentic way. Like you totally believe it's a part of them that they are giving to their crowd and to their members. They are truly connected to the members and they know how to coach and pull the best out of them and make it best for their bodies on that day. Now here's the thing. This dog, this artistry exists, but it is not the expectation for when a performer is wanting to just come and pass their test out. What we're looking for is achievement. And so as you start to consider 1s and 2s, yeah, there's no way that you can put that product in front of the members. But a mixture of 3s and 4s, even if it's not perfect, even if there's opportunities for them to grow on, we can see the brand in there. You can imagine members taking this class and this performer getting their feet wet in it, and maybe they're going to need a checkup in 90 days from another master trainer or from an area lead. But we're not looking for perfection. We're not looking for artistry. Sometimes artistry finds us and we want everyone to achieve it at some point. But in order to pass a test out, we're not expecting artistry, but we are looking for accomplishment and proficiency, good blend of both of those. All right, so now we've made it through what does this score actually mean? And remember, every format's going to have a few different elements that you're looking for and you're hoping arrive in the test out. So please, again, look over your rubrics, become very familiar with what's on there before you come to the session. So what's next? Now we actually need to get scheduled to get you into a test out. So we're in the middle of the week. We're going to open it up. And what's been created for you guys is a Google shared calendar. So when you click this link, it's going to take you to a really cool document that you have access to. This calendar currently has, and it will be updated every single day. So if you don't see something that works for you now, come back. We're going to continue to add more sessions because we're always getting new appointments added to our books. So you're going to look at this and find the format that you need to jump into. For instance, today on the 17th, Suzanne had a 10 a.m. Warrior Sculpt session, and it was open. So in this open section, you would click, and where it says open, you would type your name into it. Now there's a little further instruction when we go back to the PowerPoint. But for this one, this is my first time coming into a test out. I'm just going to be observing it. So in parentheses, I'm just going to put an O for observe. And now I'm set. I'm on the calendar. So this is just a glimpse of what the calendar looks like for you guys. Okay. So again, you'll locate your format and replace open with your name, and then designate if you're observing for the first time or maybe second time, put an O next to it. And then if you're going to co-facilitate, please write CO for co, right in those parentheses. Okay, I gave an example for you to see. Here's the thing. Please be considerate. We're looking for up to 3 people to jump in onto a test out for your observation. Can you imagine the performer that is already nervous about one person sitting in on their test out, and now they've got 4 faces staring back at them? So we're not going to bombard them with all 10 of each format's master trainers all at once. So if you see that one already has 3 names attached to it, please find another session. Now here's the thing. If it's time for you to co-facilitate and begin your test out, then only one co-facilitator can be in a session at a time. You can have a blend. Maybe there's one co-facilitator and one person also observing, and that's okay. But only one person can be a co-facilitator for that session. So now you've found a session that works for you. You've written your name down into the calendar. We got to let the person that's leading the way and leading that session know. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you a list of all the master trainer mentors who are going to be assisting you through this process. You'll need to email that specific trainer whose session you signed up for, just to let them know the day and the time that they'll be seeing your bright, shiny, happy face on our Zoom platform. At that point, the trainer will reply to you with confirmation and also send you a link to their private Zoom room, and that's where the facilitation is going to begin. So please arrive a few minutes early, be ready, have your rubric set, some notes to take, and you will be into that session. As promised on this slide, now you can see all of your mentors who are going to be your guides and helping you out. Okay, so once a session is done and you've done your observation, you don't have to give feedback at that point. All you're doing is soaking it in and being a little shadow in the background. However, your trainer, after the session is done and feedback and next steps are provided to the performer, you and that mentor will get to debrief a little bit. So if you have questions, they're going to be there to answer them for you. Now, when it's time for your co-facilitation, this is your test out. You're going to take the lead on it, but your mentor is going to be there to help provide a little bit more clarity or to provide those next steps. It's not your job to provide next steps for them. That's why they're still going to be sitting in on that session for you, okay? At the time of the co-facilitation, you're taking the lead, you're watching the performer and simultaneously setting your notes into the rubric so that you can deliver specific feedback and letting them know how you scored it. Now, the mentor, the main person, will provide their feedback as well as soon as you're done. They'll provide additional feedback and let the performer know whether they passed that day or whether they need next steps. Once the performer's session is done, you and the master trainer will get to debrief a little bit. What went well? How did they score you? Because they'll have a rubric of their own. Listening for how you deliver feedback, watching your body language, and listening to your words and your message to make sure that the performer that received it was able to receive it in a way that made sense and a way that was helpful. Okay, so they'll be providing a rubric on you. You will be turning in the rubric that you filled out on the performer. And all of that combined will be a part of your own test out. So I'm already thinking, man, I would like to know what I'm being graded on. In the master trainer group, we are uploading your rubric, the one that your mentor or maybe Emily or Zoe or myself are going to be sitting on your session and grading you on it. We want you to have the answers to that test, guys. So please look over everything that's on your rubric and start to take that into account as you're practicing and when you're sitting in your observation sessions, that you can already picture how you would word things and how you would create dialogue and continue all the stuff that you learned in your online training and how to implement it into your session. All right. And so this brings me to the end of this whole PowerPoint presentation for you guys. Oh, I'm trying to email Donna right now to let her know that I'm signing up for her session. She doesn't need to know that, so we'll cancel that out. So here we are, just you and me now. The next steps, guys, go into the Master Trainer group. If there's any questions that we can help you out with still, please write your questions in there. I'll pose a box up there for you. Just post right below this video. Start to download your format-specific rubrics. Take a look at the rubric that you're being graded upon. And then if you want, download this entire PowerPoint presentation. It's going to have the links that you need. It's also going to have the email addresses of those mentors who are going to be assisting you in this process. Other than that, guys, that's all I have for you right now. Would love to hear your questions. So jump back into the Master Trainer group, and I cannot wait to see you in action. Have a fantastic night.